business, sports, and international news. This is news from around the world. This is news from around the world.
Good evening. This is the World News at 6 on Voice of the People 96.1 FM Abuja. My name is Imona Omokodo Franklin. Here are the top stories. Tinubu appoints Ribadu, others as special advisors. Federal government inaugurate National Economy Council. Inspector General of Police Alkali Baba seals Plateau local government secretaries. Judge suspends Stella Odua 7.9 billion naira fraud trial. On the foreign scene, Australia blocks new Canberra site over spying risk. In the world of sport, Nigeria Super Falcons ready for historic World Cup. And now the news in details. President Bola Tinubu approved the appointment of special advisors. They are Dele Alake, Special Duties, Communications and Strategies, Yao Darazo, Political and Intergovernment Affairs, Wale Odun, Monetary Policies, and Olu Vehenje, Energy. The rest are Zacchaeus Adedeji, Revenue, Nuhu Ribadu, Security, John Nwajumogu, Industry, Trade and Investment, and Salma Anas, Health. Still, more from the presidency. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has inaugurated the National Economic Council (NEC) with a promise to sustain the infrastructure of the nation's economy. While talking to members, governor of the Federation, President Tinubu charged the council to join forces to support the administrations toward transforming the nation's economy. He reminded the council of the promise made during the inaugural speech that he would focus on 8 priority areas, including security, economy, job creation, agriculture, and infrastructure, among others. Tinubu further noted that the task of growing the economy is quite enormous, but he and the governors should have no reasons to complain, as he outlined the new need harness the nation's potentials to stimulate serious growth. The inauguration comes a week after he directed NEC to meet and sum up the intervention to mitigate the effects of the petroleum subsidy. CBN export windows. The Central Bank of Nigeria has abolished segmentation in the management of foreign exchange. In a statement, the Apex Bank says all segments are now collapsed into the single investors and export windows. The move is seen as compliance to the President Bola Tinubu's inaugural speech, which indicated that the desire to get rid of multiple foreign exchange windows and achieve convergence of rates. The statement also announced the reintroduction of a buy-in willing seller models at the foreign exchange window, in a move seen as floating the naira. He added that the operational rates of all government-related transactions shall be weighed average of the preceding day's executed transaction after investors and exporters window. The military veteran lodged synergy between Aba Power and Abia communities. Nigeria Electricity Distribution Company, the DISCOs, have been advised to study the type of cooperation between Aba Power, Nigeria's 12th and newest power distribution firm, and various communities in Abia State to learn how to protect their assets, which are frequently vandalized across the country. A security consultant, Air Commodore Nicholas Oji Ude, gave the advice in Aba today while speaking to journalists. The deep cooperation between the power firm and the communities have led to a series of arrests in recent times of young men vandalizing the power infrastructure in 9 out of the 17 local government areas in Aba. In Abia State, serviced by Albert Disco, Air Commodore Ojiude, also an engineer, stated, due to the impressive cooperations, two neighborhood watches have just caught the same day in two communities. The leaders of the gangs of robbers notorious for attacking transformers and armed cables are other vital parts components. They were caught in action. He gave the names of the two robbery gang leaders as one Ifeanyi, a 27-year-old man with no visible name and means of livelihood, and Ezenwa Amanze, a 37-year-old from Umweke village in Arongwa in Siala Ongwa South local government area of the state. The Federal High Court, Senator Stella Odwa, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja, have postponed the trial of former Minister of Aviation, Senator Stella Odwa, over the alleged 7.9 billion naira fraud charges instituted against her by the federal government. Odwa's arraignment, slated for 15 June, was suspended by Justice Inyan Edem Okwo over alleged threats to his life by yet-to-be-identified persons. During the proceedings, which commenced today but was later suspended, Justin Ekwo brought out a publication by a corporate organization within his life was severely threatened over the involvement in the trial. However, Justice Ekwo urged the Economy and Financial Crimes Commission to fish out the culprits behind the corporate body and bring them before the court. The judge also ordered the Deputy Chief Registrar of the court in charge of the litigation to license the Corporate Affairs Commission to obtain the identities of the promoters of the offending organization for the purpose of arresting them. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has ordered the sealing of all 17 local government secretariats of Plateau State following the ongoing crisis in the state. Reports as if that Governor Caleb Mutfawung was also sworn into office 2 weeks ago had suspended the chairman for alleged misappropriation of funds. He had gone ahead to appoint interim chairpersons to oversee the local governments, but the chairman revolted and declared that the governor had no right to suspend them. They insisted on continuing functioning as chairman of the respective local government areas, a situation that nearly resulted into breakdown of law and order in the state. In the statement, spokesperson of the State Police Command, DSP Alebo Alfred, says the IGP has ordered the State Commissioner of Police, Bartholomew Onyeka, to seal off all the 17 secretariats. The command has therefore warned that it will not take it lightly with anyone who tries to disrupt the process or causes any confusion around the local government secretariat. The Armed Forces of Nigeria says troops have eliminated several Boko Haram and Islamic State of West Africa ISWAP terrorists in both land and air operation in the northeast. The Director of Defense and Media Operations, Major General Musa Damandami, disclosed this today in Abuja at the bi-weekly media briefing on the successes and achievements of the armed forces within the past 2 weeks. Damandami says that the land, air, and maritime component of Operation Hadin Kai sustained intensive efforts to demarcate terrorists and other criminals in the northeast zone. According to him, troops conducted several operations against terrorist enclaves, hideouts, camps, and other training grounds at the villages, mountains, and waterside within Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, neutralizing several terrorists and recovering arms.
Like I've been telling you time and time over again, that the military and other security agencies are working round the clock. We are inconveniencing ourselves to ensure that there's peace and security in Nigeria. We cannot beat our chest and tell you that we are perfect human beings, just like every other Nigerian cannot beat his chest and claim to be perfect, because we draw our forces, members of the armed forces and other security agencies, from the same populace, from Nigerians. So they are bound to be one or two issues. But the point I'm trying to make here is that it is your responsibilities as Nigerians and members of the press to always support your military. It is your responsibility to support us, irrespective of any divergence view from both within and outside this country, so that we don't have a dislocation in this country. If there's any dislocation, all of us, each and every one of us, will feel it.
Damadami added that troops equally rescued 15 kidnappers, civilians, while a total of 743 terrorists and members of their families, comprising of 42 adults male, 251 adult females, and 452 children, surrendered to troops at different locations within the theater of operations. With the removal of fuel subsidy by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during his May 29 inauguration speech, prices of goods and services have skyrocketed by almost 100%. The situation has led to an increase in the prices of petrol, which was formerly sold at 195 naira per litre to 537 naira per litre. For businesses around the country, petrol can be seen to be one of its major driving forces. Therefore, whether affects it or extends it to all businesses, some drivers and traders in Abuja, while speaking with Voice of the People Radio 96.1 FM, expressed displeasure on how the increase in fuel prices has affected the prices and sale of goods and services. John Uche and some drivers in Abuja metropolis have complained of zero profits since the increment of the fuel and demand that the marketers of the product break down the price to at least 300 naira per litre.
The first subsidy remove is not easy, but it's a good one. But now it's not easy at all, because before we apply before 3,000 naira for 15 liters before, but now it's a 5.5 liters. So the pay is not easy, but for future it's good. But now it's not easy at all.
Say this driving is our work. We can't leave it. Anything where you get, thank God. If not, for now, don't make anything. We expect from the government at least make the airport carry 12 to either 300 or 250 or 350.
Also, traders at the Gariki market have lamented on low patronage due to outrageous increase in most prices of products and services.
Gaskiya people wey hana dey buy food stuff now, e don try because I need about money. Na only garri be wahala. Garri before they buy 15,000, now they buy 24,000. Now only the garri be the problem easy.
Effect is so much on us. Now even in a day, like yesterday, I didn't sell up to 4,000 naira. A big shop like this.
Before we are selling things too much, but now it will not go sell too much. Even biscuit that people like come buy katam and kavusa now select pieces or drinks and select pieces, so that's how we do it. Now it affected us.
3,500 and now. Before they sell on 3,000 naira. They affect our market now.
Before the groundnut, a bottle was 500, but now we are selling it 1,200.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has issued a fresh circulation to oil marketers on how much they can pay to get petroleum products. This came about 2 weeks after the federal government announced the removal of fuel subsidy. You were listening to the World News at 6 on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. After the break, the foreign stories. On the foreign scene, Australia has blocked Russia from building a new embassy near its parliament, citing a spying risk. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says intelligence agency has given very clear security advice on the move. Laws specifically drafted to halt construction were rapidly passed on today after legal attempts to block the Canberra development failed. Moscow's current embassy will not be affected by the new laws, which have bipartisan support. The new legislation also acknowledged that Russia may be eligible for financial compensation. Moscow currently holds the lease for a patch of land acquired in 2008, some 400 meters from the Parliament House. It has been laying the foundation for a new embassy building, but construction has proceeded slowly. Still, from the foreign scene, Kiev has reportedly progressed in its counter-offense on the eastern and southern fronts, despite contending with strong resistance from the Russian troops. The chief of the UN's atomic watchdog arrived in the southeastern region of Zaporozhye, home to Europe's largest nuclear plant and one of the foreign fronts, to assist risk to the site following the destruction of a major dam. The visit came as Kiev, boasted with modern weapon and training, pushed its long-awaited efforts to force Russian troops off its territory. Ukrainian artillery continued to target Russian position around the frontline hotspot of Bakhmut in the eastern Donetsk region. And now, in the sports scene. The Super Falcons captain Onome Ebi is set to participate in a 6th Women's World Cup at the Australian and the New Zealand 2023 Women's World Cup. Ebi, who is 40 years old, has not won the African Championship 4 times, shared a secret to maintaining her longevity with FIFA, and expressed her ambition for the upcoming tournament in July. Nigeria has qualified for the FIFA Women's World Cup 9 times, and Ebi has played in 5 of them. When asked what motivates her to continue playing at the age of 40, Ebi says it's a passion for the sport. Reports has it that in the upcoming tournament, the Super Falcons will compete against Australia, the Republic of Ireland, and Canada in Group B. And now to wrap up, yet again are the top stories. Tinubu appoints Ribadu, others special advisors. The federal government inaugurates Special Economic Council. Inspector General of Police Alkali Baba seals Plateau local government secretariats. Judge suspends Stella Odua 7.9 billion naira fraud trial. On the foreign scene, Australia blocks new Canberra site over spying risk. In the world of sport, Nigeria Falcons ready for historic World Cup details. And that is the wrap on the World News at 6. The news was edited and compiled by Alice Annings and presented by Franklin Amakudu Imona, produced by Jude Oswalko. Thank you for listening. Good evening.